Well, guys, I hope that this might be the last episode in this series of Cape Girardeau County, Missouri. Now, I don't know, though. We have learned so much. I'm kind of sorry to get through it all, but continue to stay with us as we work through the amazing amount of historic markers right here in Cape Girardeau County, Missouri.
This section of the wall deals with Missouri Wall of Fame. The first section is the Wild West. The first person is Calamity Jane from 1852 to 1903. She was born near Princeton, Missouri. And then we have Jesse and Frank James, who were born near Kearney, Missouri. Jesse was from 1847 to 1882, and Frank was from 1843 to 1915. At this point, the Missouri mule was adopted as the state animal in 1995. Next we have lights, camera, actors. So here are the actors, and if we look down here, we see Red Fox, who was born in St. Louis, Missouri. Betty Grable, born in St. Louis, Missouri. Jean Harlow, born in Kansas City, Missouri. John Houston, born in Nevada, Missouri. Vincent Price, born in St. Louis, Missouri. And Ginger Rogers, born in Independence, Missouri. Looks like we have some sports figures. So the next one is Sports Dazzlers. Here we have Yogi Berra, who was born in St. Louis. George Brett, he lived in St. Louis. He's still alive. Lou Brock lived in St. Louis. Dan Farrow was born in Mountain Grove, Missouri. Manny Jackson, born in Elmo, Missouri. Stan Musial lived in St. Louis, Missouri. And then Dred Scott lived in St. Louis, Missouri. He was an enslaved African American who unsuccessfully sued for his freedom and that of his family in 1857, and his case became known as the Dred Scott decision when the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that African Americans had no claim to freedom or citizenship. Oh, that was a horrible ruling. And this one is broadcasters and artists. We have Jack Buck, who lived in St. Louis. Joe Garagiola, who lived in St. Louis. Marlon Perkins, who was born in Carthage, Missouri. And Walter Cronkite, born in St. Joseph, Missouri. And then we have Thomas H. Benton, who was born and died in Missouri, at the forefront of the regional's art movement. This painter is best known for his murals of everyday scenes in Midwestern life. He was born in Neosho, Missouri. We have George Washington Carver, Harry S. Truman. These are illustrious individuals. Harry S. Truman was born in Lamar, Missouri, and George Washington Carver was born in Diamond Grove, Missouri. We have All Things Missouri. Here we talk about Marie Watkins Oliver. She lived in Cape Girardeau, Missouri. She's called the Betsy Ross of Missouri. She designed the Missouri state flag, which you can see here. And the Missouri state seal is also listed here. And then we have several names on the Hall of Fame. But you can also see the state tree, state flower, state birds, and so forth. And this marker tells us about men of might. Here we have George Caleb Bingham. He lived in St. Louis, Missouri. Omar Bradley was born in Clark, Missouri. Seth McKee lived in Cape Girardeau, Missouri. He was a 4-star general, highest ranking survivor of D-Day. Wow. John Pershing, born in Laclede, Missouri. And Mark Twain, born in Florida, Missouri. He was born Samuel Clemens, and he reflected his love for his boyhood hometown of Hannibal, Missouri, through the stories of Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn. This next marker talks about the captains of industry. The two names listed here are August Anheuser-Busch Jr., was a native of St. Louis, Missouri, and James Cash Penney, born in Hamilton, Missouri. Some additional legends of Missouri: Chuck Berry, Henry Block, Harry Carey, Bill Bradley, Charles Eames, Carl Edwards, Mary Engelbright, John Goodman, Charles Leeper Grigg, Cedric the Entertainer, Albert Lambert, Mary Margaret McBride, Johnny Morris, Brad Pitt, Irma Rombar, Nellie Taylor Rose, Mike Shannon, Dennis Weaver, and Walter Williams. And as we continue along the wall, our next marker talks about Show Me the Entertainers. Here our marker talks about Burt Bacharach, who's born in Kansas City, Missouri. Josephine Baker, born in St. Louis, Missouri. Scott Joplin, lived in Sedalia and St. Louis, Missouri. Rush Limbaugh, native of Cape Girardeau, Missouri. Jesse Stacy, lived in Cape Girardeau, Missouri. And Porter Wagner, born in West Plains, Missouri. And we have visionary women and writers. We have Susan Blow, born in St. Louis, Missouri. Dale Carnegie, born in Merriwether, Missouri. Linda Goodwin, lives in Cape Girardeau, Missouri. Rose O'Neill, lived in Springfield, Missouri. And Joseph Pulitzer, lived in St. Louis, Missouri. We have literary giants. Here we have Kate Chopin, native of St. Louis. T.S. Eliot, born in St. Louis. Eugene Field, born in St. Louis. Langston Hughes, born in Joplin, Missouri. Laura Ingalls Wilder, lived in Mansfield, Missouri. And Tennessee Williams, lived in St. Louis, Missouri. Down on the waterfront, this is the Mississippi River. The Father of Waters has provided means of travel and commerce since early days. Indians, explorers, priests, traders, and settlers plied its current in canoes, dugouts, flatboats, keelboats, packets, and towboats. Until the Civil War, Cape Girardeau thrived as a river port for the district. It shipped out furs, pork, and beef products, cotton, grain, and lumber. It brought in furniture, dry goods, wet goods, hardware, and tools, and entertainment by the showboat and races on the river.
All right, this one is Did You Know? Father of Waters. What do Asheville, North Carolina, Chautauqua, New York, Cimarron, New Mexico, New Orleans, Louisiana, Yellowstone National Park in Wyoming, and Cape Girardeau have in common? They are all in the drainage basin of the Mississippi River, connecting Cape Girardeau to many places across the country. This drainage basin includes all or parts of 31 states and 2 Canadian provinces, covering an area of nearly 1.2 million square miles, or 41% of the continental United States. From the head of the river in Minnesota to its mouth at the Gulf of Mexico, the Mississippi River flows more than 2,340 miles. However, the length of the Mississippi's longest tributary, the Missouri River, and the Missouri River's longest tributary, the Jefferson River, are slightly longer. Geographers measure the length of a river by its longest tributaries. So the length of the Jefferson, Missouri, Mississippi River system, beginning in Montana and flowing into the Gulf of Mexico, is 3,900 miles, making it the 4th longest river in the world and the 10th most powerful. At Cape Girardeau, the Mississippi River flows 1 million gallons per second. In comparison, the Ohio River, draining a wetter region 1/3 the size, flows twice that amount. The flow of the Amazon River in South America is 10 times greater than the entire Mississippi River system combined. The Mississippi River begins at Lake Itasca in Minnesota. Itasca comes from two Latin words. The first four letters of the word veritas, meaning truth, and the first two letters of caput, meaning head. And don't come at me about the pronunciations, please. Meaning head, combined to create Itasca, or true head of the river. Mississippi comes from the Native American Ojibwe word Mississippi. Again, please don't come at me about pronunciations because I'm not good at them. It means great river. The Mississippi is the largest river in North America. And here you can see the different river systems and where they start and flow to.
Justice for the common man. When Cape Girardeau was originally platted in 1806, a square was dedicated to public common use. Court was held in a simple wooden structure on Themis Street, several blocks west of the riverfront. Under English law, violations against government laws or involving nobility, such as lords, knights, or barons, were heard in royal courts, king's or queen's benches. Cases involving common people or common suits were heard in the courts of common pleas. Many courts of the early U.S. kept that distinction, and common pleas courts became relatively common. Today, these have been largely replaced by general courts. 4 common pleas courts were established in Missouri. 2 courts still exist today. However, only one, on the hill behind you, remains in its original building. In 1851, the growing city authorized the building of a courthouse on the public square. The structure was completed in 1854 by local architect craftsman Joseph Landsman, who also built the Church of St. Vincent, Cathedral of St. Mary, and other structures in town. During the Civil War, the building was used by the local provost marshal to enforce martial law in Missouri. After the war, the building continued its original purpose and also served as City Hall. In 1888, major extensions were added to both sides and the back of the building. A cupola and portico were added to the front. The changes turned the Federalist Building into a classical revival style typical of times. In the 1950s, an expansion was added to the back, but it did not change the style. After more than 150 years, the Common Pleas Courthouse remains a historical symbol of Cape Girardeau's rich river heritage. And there it is on the hill behind us.
Did you know, reflecting the river, and we're here along the Mississippi River in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, the architectural heritage of Cape Girardeau is as rich as the city's 200-year history. Much of the early commerce and growth of Cape Girardeau was related to the river. As merchants prospered, their buildings and homes reflected the times. Today, architecture across the city is a reflection not only of history's prevalent styles, but the pride local residents take in preserving these treasures. Here's some of the various architectural styles you can discover in Cape Girardeau. There's the Victorian Queen Anne style, and which is difficult to define but relatively easy to identify with its steep roofs, elaborate designs, and irregular shapes. The Spanish colonial revival, reflecting the Spanish era of Missouri's history. These buildings frequently have stucco exteriors with rounded red tile roofs. Windows may be arched or rectangular, and decorative ironwork is frequently used. Foursquare, also known as the Prairie Box, these spacious homes make the maximum use of smaller lots and have a symmetrical interior plan. They almost always feature a central dormer on the top level and a wraparound porch. There's the Neoclassical Revival, which is based on Greek or Roman styles with columns and strong symmetry. This style is still popular in the design of homes and public buildings. There's the German Vernacular. Vernacular refers to the locality where buildings were constructed. These structures reflect the strong German heritage of this area. The homes, normally brick, have a simple floor plan. Those built before the Civil War typically sit directly behind the sidewalk. Post-Civil War buildings were set back from the sidewalk. The Italianate or Renaissance Revival. This widespread style can be identified by the low-pitched roof atop a vertical symmetrical building. Mostly common in commercial buildings, it can also be found in large private homes. Then there's the Craftsman Bungalow. Classically American, these residential buildings are easily identified by their 1.5 stories, low-pitched roofs, wide eaves, and deeply overhanging porches. All right, we are downtown on the waterfront at the Merriwether Street pumping station. It says Merriwether Pump Station honoring Andy Juden. Without the flood wall and pump stations, Cape Girardeau's historic downtown area would not stay dry during flooding. The entire flood protection system is critical in keeping the district dry and safe. The combination of earthen levees and concrete flood walls surrounding downtown is nearly 23 football fields long. Additional flood protection structures, including numerous drainage systems and 2 pump stations, providing riverfront protection against a 180-year flood of approximately 54 feet on the gauge. In 2008, the ownership, operation, and maintenance of the flood wall and levee system was transferred to the city of Cape Girardeau. Prior to 2008, the North Main Street and Main Street Levee Improvement Districts operated the system. Productive partnerships between the former levee districts, the city, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, local businesses, and local property owners have provided for the continuing success of the Cape Girardeau flood protection system. This is a memorial to Charles Andy Juden Jr. Family, legacy, hard work. Charles Andy Juden Jr. was born January 26, 1934 in Cape Girardeau to Charles Andrew and Cleo Magnus Juden. He attended St. Vincent de Paul Grade School, Cape Central High School, and the University of Missouri-Columbia. Juden married Jeanette Jose on December 25, 1954 at Christ Episcopal Church in Cape Girardeau and joined his father with the family's farm and a real estate management business. He was active with the Lions Club, Cape Girardeau Country Club, Elks Lodge, Ducks Unlimited, and the Navy League. Juden was an influential founder and eventual head of operations for the Main Street Levee District starting in early 1950s. In 1965, Juden succeeded his father as president of the district, retiring in 2008 when the city began to oversee the flood protection system. In memoriam for his many decades of service and contributions to the flood protection system, the Merriwether Pump Station in 2015 was renamed for Juden. And then here it's got a timeline for the different things that led up to the wall and the levee system. Look at the 43 at that flood. I mean, horrible. So, there's the flood wall and the pump station. And there was a major flood in 73 and 79. And continuing, 93 was, there's another picture of 95. And then the levee system transferred to the city. There are other floods that have occurred. And in January 2016, there was a record-breaking historic crest of 48.8 feet. All right, this is the Red House. This was the reproduction of the first structure here in Cape Girardeau. All right, there's several markers here. This one is about Lewis and Clark and their expedition. November 23rd, 1803, Merriwether Lewis and William Clark arrived at Cape Girardeau, a trading post established in 1795 by Louis Lorimer, the Spanish-appointed commandant of the Cape Girardeau district. Here, Lewis, co-commander of the expedition, left the keelboat to pay an official visit to Commandant Lorimer. The remaining party, under the command of Clark, who was feeling ill, continued upstream about 2 miles and camped on a point of land that was the site of Lorimer's original trading post, which was probably constructed in 1793. Lorimer himself established himself at what came to be known as Old Cape Girardeau. And there's some sketches. They're kind of hard to see. These markers here are pretty faded. And here's what Merriwether Lewis wrote in his journal, if you want to pause and read that. And this continues what I was reading right here. Lorimer established himself what came to be known as Old Cape Girardeau about 1793, and then moved 2 miles downriver to what became known as New Cape Girardeau. A large band of Shawnee who followed him from Ohio settled nearby. The Spanish welcomed these Native American newcomers, hoping to use the Shawnee as a buffer against Osage Indian incursions from the west and potential American incursions from across the Mississippi. Captain Lewis found the commandant and his family at a horse race being held nearby, and after Lorimer settled a heated dispute with fellow gamblers over the results of one of the races, he invited Lewis to join his family for supper. The party returned to Lorimer's residence, known as the Red House, which this is a reproduction of, to enjoy the commandant's hospitality. After supper, which Lewis said was really a comfortable and decent one, the captain bid the family an affectionate farewell and was conducted by one of Lorimer's sons on the 3-mile horseback ride up to Old Cape Girardeau, where he rejoined his companions and the boats. And then this is more information about Lewis Lorimer. He was married to a Native American mixed blood Shawnee Indian wife. And so you can pause and read more there. All right, here's another marker in front of the Red House Interpretive Center here. Again, it's a little hard to read. Pierre Louis de Lorimer, French-Canadian fur trader, Indian agent, and founder of Cape Girardeau, built the Red House in the late 1790s west of this location on what is now the parking lot of St. Vincent's Church. And there he is in that picture, his horse. It says the Red House served as the family home for Louis, his wife Charlotte Pimenpe Bougainville, and their children Guillaume, which was a son from a previous marriage, Louis Jr., Marie-Louise Augustus Bougainville, Agatha Vernil, Raphael, and Victor. It also served as a fur trading establishment and as the seat of government for the Spanish district of Cape Girardeau, of which Lorimer was commandant. This is a drawing of the original Red House based on a recollection. Constructed in typical Mississippi Valley French colonial architectural style, the building featured vertical log post on a sill construction. I'm not going to try to read that. On a construction with a steep hip roof which broadened to cover wide porches. The porches provided a sheltered work area and shaded the windows from the sun, which cooled the interior. After the Louisiana Purchase and the transfer of authority to the United States government in 1804, the Red House was no longer a seat of government, but continued to be an important trading post. After his wife's death in 1808, Lorimer remarried. Marie Berthaume, his third wife, bore him one child, a son Manuel, who died in childhood. Lorimer died at his home on June 26, 1812. Ownership of the Red House changed several times before the property was acquired by the Catholic Church. The house was destroyed by a tornado November 27, 1850. So, again, this is the Interpretive Center. Not sure what this marker is up here. It says George Drouillard. George Drouillard was chief hunter and interpreter on the Lewis and Clark Expedition Corps of Discovery. He was the son of a Frenchman and Shawnee woman, as well as nephew of Louis Lorimer, commandant of the Cape Girardeau district. Drouillard lived and bred horses in the Cape Girardeau area. Merriwether Lewis described him as a man of much merit. He has been peculiarly useful from his knowledge of the common language of gesticulation and his uncommon skill as a hunter and woodsman, though several duties he performed in good faith and with an ardor which serves the highest commendation. Yeah, so don't get after me for not being able to pronounce the peculiar word there.
This markers for the Red House, 1793 to 1799. This area between El Camino Real and Aquemsi Front along the river was the site occupied by the Red House, La Casa Raja, home and trading post of the city's founder, Don Luis Lorimer Mecca, for both whites and Indians of the region, and a welcome haven for travelers. It was the civil, social, and military headquarters of the district under 3 reigns: Spanish, French, and American. And across the road is the reproduction of the house.
All right, this marker is about the Red House Interpretive Center here. It's only open on Saturdays. There's not a lot for me to be able to read here. Let's see, the Red House Interpretive Center, under construction from 2002 to 2004, is a cooperative effort of the Cape Girardeau Lewis and Clark Bicentennial Commission and the City of Cape Girardeau. The project was funded in part through grants from the Missouri Department of Transportation and the Missouri Lewis and Clark Bicentennial Commission. Over 200 individuals, businesses, and civic clubs donated money, labor, and materials to complete the project. It says integrating the architectural style of the French colonial era in the Mississippi Valley with modern climate control lighting and state-of-the-art exhibits. The Red House Interpretive Center demonstrates lifeways of Native Americans, French colonists, African Americans, and early American settlers in the Illinois country and southeast Missouri. And so there's Lewis and Clark, which they're faded. These are the Osage warriors that were in the area. It says historic events such as the Louisiana Purchase and the Lewis and Clark Expedition provide topics for interpretation. Other topics include the role of the Mississippi River, other regional streams, and early roads and trails. They served as arteries for the import of necessary goods and the export of agricultural products, as well as for personal transportation. To the rear of the property, the mural on the flood wall depicts the Mississippi River as it may have appeared around 1800. A period garden north of the center features herbs, vegetables, flowers, and native plants. To the south, a grape arbor provides a shaded area for interpretive activities and gatherings. And then this is a picture of a slave auction. Not exactly sure any context to that, but there we go.
Well, guys, I hope that you have enjoyed this county as much as I have. Cape Girardeau County, Missouri has given us so much history that it is just, I just don't know another word to use beside amazing. I love history. I love learning about it, and I love seeing how some of the history that we've learned about over the past couple of years through other counties, how it ties in to what we're learning, and you know how our areas down here in this tri-state area work together and have a lot of the same commonalities. So that's really neat. So please continue. If you have not liked and subscribed and all of that good stuff, we would love it. Comment. Let me know what you think, where you think we should go, what we should be doing. If we missed something, hey, let us know. And stay tuned as we look for more history out there alongside the roads of historical markers.